Hello and welcome to Life with Aprons. Today we are talking about how to purify tallow. And maybe you're wondering, why do I need to purify tallow? Well, stay tuned and we'll talk about it. Today we're talking about tallow and specifically purifying tallow. Now, what is tallow? First of all, tallow comes from a cow, and then you have lard that comes from a pig. They are both excellent animal fats to have on hand, whether it be for cooking or body products. But one of the differences between cooking with tallow and using it in body products is the smell. If you are using it for cooking, then you don't really need to worry about that beef smell. It's going to be just fine. I have a large container of tallow that I keep by my stove, and anytime I fry an egg, anytime I make fried chicken, anything I'm frying, I typically just grab a spoonful and throw it in the pan. It is excellent for frying things. However, if you use that same tallow for body products, it's not going to be so great because you're going to have that beefy smell, and it's just not going to, I don't know of anybody who wants beefy smells in their body products. So in light of that, I want to show you a way that you can purify that tallow even further so that you can use it in all kinds of body products from, you can use it for body creams, you can use it for your lips, you can use it for soap. There are lots of ways that you can use it once it has been purified. If you haven't seen my video on how to render tallow from beef fat, check out that video first to get you started. My husband and I, as I've said many times, we process a half a cow or a whole cow, and when we do that, we ask for the fat. We take that fat, we cut it up, I put it in the crock pot, and I render the tallow from it. And then I use it for cooking. But we're going a step further today, and we're going to purify it more. Now, the tallow that I have here, one is melted because I needed to be able to get it out of the jar, and the other one is still in its solid form from the fridge. These I did not get from cutting up the fat and rendering it that way. I made a ton of bone broth last week, and if you haven't seen that video, check that out on canning 50 jars of bone broth. And from that, I was able to get a really strong layer of fat that I took half of it off. I kept half for the flavor, and the other half I put here so that I could purify it to use in different body products. So this is where this fat comes from, but you can also use it if you have been rendering fat in the crock pot. Either way is fine. I'm going to take the fat that I have here, and we're just going to throw it in this crock pot. This is an empty crock pot. We're going to throw all of it in there. And then we're going to add the salt. The salt is a key part in the purifying process because it's actually what pulls those impurities out to give it that white color and to keep it from smelling. Okay, so we're just going to add a handful of salt. If you are a measuring person, you're not going to be very satisfied with this recipe because it's not really like, I've got a couple tablespoons here and the fat comes up to about here in my crock pot. But, you just want to add a generous amount of salt, and then you're going to add some water to it. Pour that in. I added enough to almost come to the top of the tallow there, and I'm going to keep it right there. I am going to put on my lid, and then I'm going to turn it on high for about an hour. We're going to come back, and then I'm going to show you the next step. All right, my 1 hour is up, and now we're going to do some straining. And let's start with the supplies that you're going to need for this. We're taking the tallow that has been bubbling in here for an hour, and we're going to put it in this bowl right here. Now, the reason I chose a bowl like this is because we're also going to put it into the refrigerator after this. And we want to make sure that once it solidifies on the top, it's going to be easy to pull out and pop out of this bowl. You don't want a container that goes in a little bit, because it's going to be hard to get that tallow out of there when it's in a solid bar. So I've chosen a wide bowl that we're going to pour the liquid tallow into. But before, you'll want a colander of some sort, and then I have a cheesecloth going over that. You can use a small colander, a handheld one. It's just a little easier for me to use this big large one and put it over the bowl. And then I'm going to ladle the tallow, move my coffee out of the way, show you guys, because there's, you know, like we said, we're trying to get all the impurities out. So in light of that, that cheesecloth has a really tight weave, and it can catch anything that's yucky, that doesn't need to be in there. Okay, that pretty much gets all the tallow out of the crock pot. I'm going to take this bowl and I'm going to go stick it in the fridge for a little while, just until it solidifies, and then we're going to bring it out, pop it out, and I'm going to show you how the impurities have come out of the tallow. Okay guys, we are back. My tallow has solidified. It's been a couple of days actually. I meant to do it the day of when I recorded the first part of this video, but I had some sick ones and I needed to put it on hold. That's the great thing about this. You don't have to do it all in one day. So this has been sitting in the refrigerator for a couple of days while I take care of the ones who are sick. I've been giving them elderberry syrup and teas. If you haven't seen my video on how to make elderberry syrup, that is a great thing to give your kids, yourself, when you're sick. It's an immune booster and it really helps fight off those colds and sicknesses. It has calmed down and people are feeling better. And so I pulled this out of the fridge and I'm ready to move on to the next step. So what I wanted to show you, you know, I've got it solidified inside here, and underneath of this is the water. So I'm just going to pop this out as a solid bar. You just should be able to, yep, there it goes, come right up. Just like that. And I'm going to show you on the bottom, you can see there's a lot of that yucky brown stuff. We're going to lay this down and we're just going to scrape off all that brown yucky stuff that has settled to the bottom of this bar. And once I do that, I'm able to go to the next step. I'm going to cut it into cubes just so that I can get it into my crock pot. And I'm going to add salt and water again, turn it on high for about an hour, and then we're going to strain it. And then I am going to solidify it again, pull it out and check it. It really is the same process over and over, and it just depends, you know, how long it takes for each person, depending on what kind of tallow they're using. And like I said, this was skimmed off of the top, so it may take a little longer than if you just used regular beef fat that you had cooked in your crock pot. All right, I've got it all in there. I'm gonna add my water and I'm gonna add my salt, and I'm gonna go through that process again, and then we'll see how long it takes. And I'm gonna show you the finished product of a purified, beautiful tallow that you can use in all kinds of body products. All right, I have pulled my tallow out of the refrigerator for the final time. I ended up doing 3 rounds of the boiling it down with salt and water, and then scooping it or ladling it into a bowl through a cheesecloth, and then putting it in the refrigerator to solidify. I have popped out my last time here, and this looks really good. You can see how the color has changed. It still has a little tint of yellow, but it's changed a lot, and I have been able to get rid of a ton of that, you know, beef particles and all of that gives it that smell. It does not smell, which is really nice, especially if you want to use it on your face or something. It doesn't have that beefy smell anymore. So I'm going to take my final bar, my final product. I'm going to cut it up again and melt it and put it and store it in a jar in the fridge. You could store it on the shelf, but you want to make sure that you have absolutely no water in there or it could go rancid. So just to be safe, I put it in the fridge and then I pull it out as needed. I'm putting it in a jar like this. This is a Weck jar. These are my favorite jars to can with, and I love storing stuff in because it comes with you can buy a plastic lid to put on it instead of the glass lids that usually are on it. They can really great. They're a little pricier than the ball jars, but man, they last. It's a thicker glass, so they don't break like my ball jars will break. The rubber seals, you can use them over and over and over again. They're just really durable and I love them, and plus they're just absolutely gorgeous. I will put a link in the description for those. These are my go-to jars. But one of the things I like about this jar is that it has that wide mouth and you have no lip here, so it's really easy to get the tallow out of the jar as opposed to the ball jars. Even the wide mouth ball jars, you have a little bit of that lip there and it might be hard to get it out. So I'm going to melt this down and I'm going to ladle it into this jar right here, and then I'm going to use it as needed for all sorts of things. Like I said, I use it as a face cream, a nightly face cream, and I add some frankincense to it and oils. I use it for my lips as a tallow balm for your lips. I'm going to be making tallow soap with this tallow, and you can add all sorts of great smells to that. You can do it for the holidays, you can do it for springtime, any of that stuff. But the main thing is that animal fats, not only is it good for you to ingest in your body, but it's also good to put on your skin. And it really is one of those workhorse ingredients in your kitchen that is so underrated in our world, but super great for your body. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions or comments, put them down below. Like and subscribe for more great content. Bye.